Greetings and welcome to Hexed Encountered. My name is Joe. Today I'm going to be introducing the start of a new series. Now, I've done a war game series. I've actually done several war game series and themed months and things like that. But I've never really done anything like that on the sports game side. So I decided that I would probably do something. Now, most of you probably aren't familiar with the other things I do aside from this YouTube channel. I have a long running history of running online leagues, sports leagues, baseball, basketball, football, hockey, and baseball through OOTP 24. And before that, I had Diamond Mind and APA and some other stuff too. I mean, I've gone back away. Football too. I've done APA football leagues and Pro Football Simulator and so on and so forth. I don't want to digress too much on that. But anyway, I have three websites. HexedEncounter.com, which is, of course, the companion website for my YouTube channel. Then I have SimSportLeagues.com, which is currently kind of on a hiatus, which may change based on this project I'm going to be working on that I'm announcing today. And then LegendSport.com. Now, LegendSport.com, if you were to go to that website, it's the home of the Figment Sports Universe, which is a bunch of fictional leagues, fictional players, fictional teams, in a central kind of universe that's based on the real world. So the stuff that happens outside of sports takes place in this kind of surrounding universe. So we're currently in 1948, and I started doing it as a solo project back in 1876, and I progressed slowly up till 1925, and then we created an online baseball league. Since then, we've added an online basketball league and an online hockey league. Football is a bit of a challenge because of the differences in the way the game was played back in the 40s and before. With platoon football not really taking place, it was the era of Iron Man football. You had 11 men basically, and they played the whole game. That slowly was changing through the 30s and 40s, but we're getting close now to the point where we can probably go to an online league, because in terms of football leagues, there aren't a lot of simulations that actually do a good job of, correctly portraying the way the game was played back then. It was very run heavy. Most games, for obvious reasons, simulation games, and I'm talking about PC games. These are all PC leagues. So most football games tend to, basically model modern football, which is what you would expect. So, you're talking a lot of passing, passers regularly in the 60s to 70% completion rating, not a whole lot of interceptions, the rules heavily favoring pass, and all kinds of stuff like that, right? The de-emphasis on the running game. Woo, okay. Et cetera, et cetera. In the 50s, it was a heavy run-based game, and the passing game was very high risk, high reward. So very different from what we have now, because the way the defenders could manhandle receivers was much different than from now. If you bump a receiver now, it's pass interference. If you mug the receiver back in 1950, it wasn't anything, basically. So, that's just the progress of the sport. So, long story short, there really isn't a good simulation engine to handle that. So that's why that's never happened. So the reason Sim Sport Leagues is currently on hiatus is because it was going to be, and may still become, the home of my Mythic Sports Universe, which will be similar to Figment, but I wanted to start it later on. As I said, Figment is in 1948 currently, and Mythic I would probably like to position in the 1970s. So a little closer to the modern era. There are a slew of simulation engines that can handle that era well. So that was the idea. Now you might wonder, well, why are we talking about content or a series for the channel? Well, I was talking lately, and this really came up when I was doing my channel update the other day, and I was thinking about Play Sports, or Play.com's games, the Keith Avalone games. His games are very narrative focused, and as I mentioned at the time, I'm a very narrative minded person. I like storylines. OTP has storylines in it. Even like Football Manager has storylines in it, and part of my enjoyment of playing those particular games is the fact that you have storyline stuff in there. My sports universe, the Figment Sports Universe, is heavily storylined. I don't want to digress too far, but I have an entire fictional narrative going in there around a specific family, and it's on the OOTP Developments forum in their Dynasty section, and it's something like 370-ish posts, I think, and a lot of views. So it's fairly popular, and I enjoy doing it. And, there's some supporting stuff for that on the legendsport.com website as well. But to get back to the topic at hand, because I keep digressing, Sim Sport Leagues and Mythic, I may elect to try and use some of the play games to support this, because I'm not sure that I want to take on multiple online leagues in addition to what I'm already doing. I only have so much time. I have my YouTube channel. I have war games I want to play. I have sports games I want to play. So that's kind of a way for me to incorporate the sports stuff into Hexed Encountered channel, and also kind of utilize simsportleagues.com as a kind of home for some of the results of this. So what I'm thinking about doing is using Play. I keep calling it play.com because that's what's in my head. It's Play Classic. So they have a football game, second season. They have a baseball game called History Maker Baseball. They have a golf game, History Maker Golf. They have Soccer Blast. They have Hockey Blast. There's a tennis game coming. They also have a red, white, and blue racing game, which is going to be the first thing that I'm going to try on a trial basis. So they have a fictional circuit called Scram, which is stock car racing, something. I forget what the A and the M are. But Stock Car Racing America, maybe? That might be what it is. Because I think the baseball, History Maker Baseball fictional league that Keith created is called Baseball America. So that kind of fits the theme of that. And what I would like to do, and I may not do it with baseball and football because it's time consuming to play those games. So I'm going to do red, white, and blue racing. That's the point of this long 7+ minute spiel that I've been going on. Is I'm going to do a series, and I'm going to start with red, white, and blue racing. I'm going to use the Scram 1960 card set that Keith created, which is a fictional set of racers, drivers, and tracks based in the, late 50s, early 60s era of stock car racing, when things were still very freewheeling, I guess. You had dirt track races, 100-mile races, things like that. That, NASCAR has moved well past that stuff, right? They have super speedways and things now. And there were only a handful of super speedways back then. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put together a schedule. I'm going to use the Scram 1960 cards, the Scram tracks, and I'm just going to do a few races as a start, see how it goes, see how much I'm enjoying it, see what kind of reception it gets from you guys, and I'm going to detail it on simsportleagues.com with some stories. And then what I may end up doing is use red, white, and blue racing, and maybe do some things with other games in the series to kind of flesh it out. I forgot to mention the wrestling game, Face to the Mat. That's what it's called, Face to the Mat, which I will also be trying to do something with in the not too distant future. And I may end up creating my own fictional people for this thing, and I'll do some stuff. I don't want to get into my plans too deeply. I want to leave some mystery involved, but I'm going to try and blow this out and make it interesting and creative. So this isn't going to appeal to everybody, and I know the bulk of my subscriber base is wargame people. So I'm not expecting this to get a lot of love from those people. Some maybe like sports too, and they might be even NASCAR fans, and they might think this is moderately interesting, and maybe they'll watch a little bit. Fine. I'm mostly doing this for myself, but I do know that I do have some sports guys who are subscribers who like this kind of tabletop sports stuff. So I'm going to try to do some play stuff, and I'm going to try to fit this in with, as I said, the Mythic thing. And, maybe I end up using History Maker Baseball, because they have History Maker Baseball Express where you can kind of bang out a game fairly quickly. To me, it's about the stats. When I do baseball, football, basketball, hockey, soccer, the big sports, I'm a stats guy. And it's also hard from a time standpoint to bang out games and keep track of all the statistics and everything, because, if you play Hockey Blast, it could take you a half an hour or so to do a game if you're, relatively adept at it. And it'll give you your basic stats, which is all I really would want or need, with, goals, assists, points, penalty minutes. You can kind of jury rig stuff like that. You'll get the goals and the assists for sure. So you can kind of keep a base level, as opposed to, if you use a PC sim like, FHM, then you get full stats, everything. As many stats as you could ever want. Everything that the modern NHL tracks, that game has it. Same like OOTP. You get all your advanced sabermetric statistics in addition to your at-bats, hits, runs, errors, all that good stuff that, you could kind of tally by hand. So that's the idea, and I've kind of rambled on longer than I wanted to with this, and I don't like to I don't like to put myself on camera all that much, but I felt like this was a good way to kind of do it, or a good opportunity to kind of reassure the people who are sports subscribers that I have not forgotten that, and that I do want to continue to, because I play games, but mostly PC games. But this is a chance for me to get back into the tabletop stuff and do some things with that. So I could see me doing, things like golf, wrestling, auto racing. Those seem like the most likely. Maybe tennis. We'll see. I have the tennis game that was put out I think it was part of the holiday thing from last year. And I haven't really played it yet, but I do have it. And now Keith's actually giving it the full-on treatment. Other things, they have some wacky stuff on the Play Now, which is kind of their other website, which has, it's more of less sport simulation-y kind of stuff. And they have a roller derby game, and they have a highlight game. And, I'm like, in my head, I'm like thinking, yeah, if I go to 70s, roller derby was around in the 70s. Highlight was around in the 70s. They have a demolition derby game. These are all things that in my head, I'm like, hey, this would be a good fit for Mythic to kind of expand upon the core stuff that I wanted to put in Mythic, which was baseball, basketball, football, hockey, soccer, boxing, and maybe some other stuff. If Keith had a horse racing game, I'd be golden. But I have other games for other sports. I could do Olympic stuff, and I have all kinds of things that I could do tabletop-wise from other publishers, not play stuff. So there's a lot of room for me to do things. I've always struggled with kind of conceptualizing how I want to do things. I don't like to, unlike war games where I feel like if I'm doing a game and we're talking about playing, say, the Battle of the Bulge, it's one battle, you play the game all the way through, you complete the battle, and then you can move on. In a sports game, it's a season, and each game is kind of an individual contest within that season. It's almost like if you were playing World War II or something in say Europe. So you want to play the invasion of Poland, and then you would do, maybe you would do something with the naval war, like Atlantic Chase. And then maybe you do something about the invasion of Norway, and then you do like the Low Countries in France, and you kind of progress slowly through the whole thing. You do North Africa, you do the Balkans, you do Crete, you do Barbarossa, and you keep going and going and going. That's obviously a long-term project. You could play a strategic level game that kind of does all that stuff, but it's not granular. Sports, I prefer things to be granular because I want the individual statistics. So sports and war games have some overlap. They both involve strategy to some extent, depending. Particularly on the sports side is where the depending comes in. But they're both competitive, right? I play war games for many reasons. I'm a history nerd and I love that stuff. So that's part of the reason why I play that stuff. But I'm also a sports geek. And I also worked in pro sports for a long time. So I have a lot of sports knowledge in my head that is fairly worthless unless I kind of put it to use doing things like this project that I want to do. That's how I feel about it anyway. So I'm going to wrap this up now because it's been a long time. And I did not want to do a 15, 20-minute video on this. This was supposed to be short. So the plan is to do something on red, white, and blue racing and have that start relatively soon. So I don't know when I'll post this video, but when I do, within a few days after that, I hope to at least have a video of the game, red, white, and blue racing, maybe one race all the way through, the progress of how the game handles everything, and just play it all the way through, which could be like an 1.5-hour video or something. You can do the race faster, but when you're talking about the game, it's just like when I do anything, I'm explaining what I'm doing, it slows everything down. So I'll put it up and maybe people will watch 5 minutes of it, but the entirety of it is there for the handful of people who might want to watch the entirety. That's the idea, at least. And then we'll see how that goes. And I'll do, hopefully I'll do a few and we'll progress and we'll see what people think, how they react. And, if it does well, then I'll continue to do it. It's kind of like I started an OOTP 24 thing for Mythic Baseball. And it fell flat. Nobody watched it. I was getting terrible numbers on it, so I stopped doing it. Same thing with Legends of Boxing. I was doing a fictional Legends of Boxing thing. I think I did 4 or 5 videos, and nobody watched it, so I dropped it. Because I don't like to waste my time. I have a lot to do. I enjoy doing this stuff, and I can play the game on my own and not talk about it, and I don't have to worry about wasting time trying to do a video for it. That's kind of how I approach it. So that's my thought process. So I do want to say thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. Hopefully this will appeal to some of you. If not, like I said, I'll do it a little bit and then maybe I'll just stop, like I said, I can do it on my own, still put it on my website and not have to worry about doing videos, because doing videos involves time and effort. And I have just like everybody, I have limited time to do this stuff because I am married. I have kids, I have a job. So YouTube does not pay the bills. I'll tell you that right now. This is a lot of work for very, very little money. I don't even want to think about what my hourly rate is in terms of the little bit of money I get from YouTube against the hours I put in doing videos. So, but I'm not doing it for the money. That's for damn sure. So thanks again. That's going to do it. I'll wrap it up now. I'm just rambling at this point. So thank you for watching. My name's Joe. This is Hexed Encountered. And until next time, happy gaming.